Corey Clark. It's a special edition of Wake Up Warchant. It's live. It's your Wednesday podcast going down on a Tuesday. Use a promo code Warchant30 for 30 for days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Wake Up Warchant brought to you by Zaxby's. Indescribably good, Corey, in case you did not know.
But everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's ever been into one, walked into one, been lucky enough to drive by one knows that.
Yeah. 9 locations: Capitol Circle Southwest, Mahan, Tennessee, Thomasville Road. Then we're going to go to Douglas, Georgia, and then we're going to go to Mariana, and then we're going to Thomasville.
Howard Dean.
Yeah. So check it out, everybody. Enjoy it. We certainly do. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be taking your phone calls and your comments on YouTube all day. The phone number is 850-792-5730. I really don't have a lot of preamble, Corey. I'm just going to go ahead and open the phone lines. But how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, buddy. You don't want to talk about the big basketball recruit?
I mean, I talked about Michael Langston earlier, but let's get your take. Let's get your take on it. You're talking about Matthew Cleveland, right?
Oh, Matt Dog. Yeah. And again, another Georgia kid.
That's right.
The Atlanta area, man, I'm telling you, growing up around here, it's pretty amazing how many players Florida State gets compared to like Georgia and Georgia Tech. You go back to Tony Douglas. Now, he was a transfer, but he was still from Jonesboro, and Chris Singleton and the great Jordan DeMercy, MJ Walker, on and on and on. Now this kid, it's pretty remarkable how they come into Georgia and get so many big-time players. And he is big-time, apparently.
Yeah. So Leonard Hamilton and the staff quite excited. They went to Twitter to share their happy thoughts about the addition of another 4-star in the class of 2021. Oh. The word is that he's possibly going to get bumped up to that coveted 5-star status. So we shall see.
Well, he's like the 25th player in the country, right? I thought that would be 5-star.
Yeah. So there we go. Hey, look at this guy. Briley says, I refuse to watch if Aslan. Oh, I thought he was saying if I am hosting. I was going to be like, well, tough luck, buddy, because I'm co-hosting it. But what up? I don't know, Briley. For friends, if we're not, it's fine. I like beefing with people. But let's go ahead and open the phone line.
He's not beefing with you. He's being complimentary.
I know. I was a little bit disappointed. I was ready to go to war.
That says a lot about you. Briley, he appreciates it. I know he doesn't say it in the moment, but he does appreciate that the compliment.
And Damon Hatter does appreciate the addition of "the" in front of your name. I don't know if
that's right.
Does Ohio State have to pay royalties to you for the use of the word "the"?
That's right. Well, there's some other Corey Clarks floating around out there, but I'm the Corey Clark.
Well, all right. So, yeah, phone lines are open. 850-792-5730. And practically on cue, we got our first call of the day. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Who do we got?
Hello, Skater Kirk. How are you guys doing this evening?
What is up, G?
What's up, man?
Just living the dream. Hosting here in Virginia Beach. Been back about 110 every day the last 3 or 4 days. So.
My God.
Yikes.
Oh, what's on your mind, G?
All right, yeah, here's my question. Do you think LeBourne's going to be a little extra motivated because Corbin's been named on the Doak Walker watch list?
I like that. That's a good question. I certainly would think so, man, for sure. He was a 5-star as well. I mean, he was ranked higher than Jay Sean Corbin coming out of high school. They're in different classes, but still, though, it's kind of funny how people are sleeping on him. Ira's point has been that he's been on campus for 3 years, and it's usually tough for guys to kind of make a move in year 4. But he redshirted in 17, was injured all of 18, coming back from a pretty serious injury in 19. So I think he's poised for a big season in 2020. I would certainly think he's holding a little bit of a chip, not against Corbin himself, but just the overall sentiment from the media, I would think.
I think the chip is not necessarily for the watch list award. I think it's just like he seems probably like the forgotten guy. Like everybody's talking about Corbin. Before that, they were talking about Cam Akers. It's not like he was sitting behind just rancid liver. He was sitting behind one of the best running backs in college football. So he has a chance, man. But this is the year, right? Like he's got to prove it this year. But there's certainly some talent there, and I can't imagine motivation will be hard to come by for him because he better be motivated. He hasn't really accomplished anything, and he's a good player, and this is his year. So you hope anything. He's got a bunch of chips on his shoulder. This was probably just the latest one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the laboring camp, man. I think I had him ranked number 4, I think, on my preseason top 40. I was the one that had him ranked the highest. So I'm all in on him. I hope it works out for him, too. He seems like a pretty interesting guy. So I'm rooting for him. And I know he's from your neck of the woods, G, so you're rooting for him, too, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. He's from Ocean Lake. Well, he was at Ocean Lakes, and then he went to Catholic. So, I mean, you all had 3 guys there, all from Ocean Lakes at the same time with Noddy, him, and Taylor.
Oh, all right. Okay.
It's a pipeline.
And then, this area here in the 757 just got tons of talent. And I guess FSU's not back down here yet. They got one kid over at Green Run they're looking at, but, that's what it is. There's a coach, a matter of fact, Percy Harvin's old coach is now an assistant up at Pitt. So he's got to end. I think they signed 3 or 4 have 3 or 4 commits from this area.
I refer to him as Damon McDaniel's old coach.
Yeah. Well,
not Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin never did anything. It was Damon McDaniel. That's the one you wanted.
Yeah. And a little trivia fact: when McDaniel left FSU and came back home, he ended up at the same place as Francois, which is Hampton University.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that. He ended up going to Hampton. I didn't realize that. Huh.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, sir.
There we go. You're in. All right, G. Appreciate the calls always, man.
All right, gentlemen. You'll have a great evening, and as always, go Noles.
That's right.
Thanks, buddy.
Right. That is correct.
I knew there was another one I was forgetting, and I could not think of it. And it finally hit me. Devin Vassell. Heard of him? He's also from the Atlanta area, and he turned out to be pretty good too.
Where's Tony Douglas from? Jonesboro.
So it's suburbish. It's 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes south of Atlanta. I'm not great with geography, but it's south of the airport. I do know that.
Well, I mean, Atlanta's going to claim Brady, right?
Oh, yeah, he'll be I mean, Gwinnett's going to claim him, but Atlanta, the city will also claim him. He'll be a native son. I guess kind of like LeBron with Cleveland.
Right. Cleveland, this is for you. Let's take another phone call, shall we? If I can hit the button correctly. Welcome on in to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Aslan and Corey here with you. A whole bunch of Florida State fans all over the world. Who we got?
What's going on, guys? It's Abdel from Boynton Beach.
What's up, man?
Boynton Beach in the house.
Yes, sir. So I had to get my daily basketball question in.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's hear it.
So obviously big news earlier today with the Matthew Cleveland announcement. And it seems like Florida State's approach has been to go after kids that fit the FSU basketball mold rather than to just blindly follow every blue chip prospect. I just kind of wanted your guys' take on how you think the staff will take advantage of the prestige that's been built around the program past few years.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think this is it, right? This is how you take advantage. The McGowan's kid is a top 50 kid. This kid is a borderline 5-star. Certainly, both are higher thought of, or higher ranked and more acclaimed than Devin Vassell when they got him. I think this isn't abnormal anymore. Starting with Bacon and Beasley, this is a program now that lands these types of kids. That's it. I mean, this is what they do. The Jonathan Isaacs, the Trent Forrest. Devin Vassell wasn't a huge prospect coming out. He wasn't a huge name, but he turned into a great player. MJ Walker was a McDonald's All-American. This kid, Cleveland, might end up being a McDonald's All-American if they have a game this year. Let's hope they do. So, man, I do think that when they go after guards, they're not going after the 5'10" kids. They want 6'5" guys that are long. And this kid, if watching his highlights right now, he's a long dude. He's really impressive too. Jeez. Just big arm span. And he's a Florida State guard. I mean, I know on Twitter they call themselves Big Guard U, and that's kind of what they're becoming known for. And overall, though, I think there's a point in their program now where, yeah, it was cool that they got this kid, but you weren't stunned. Just like I don't really think anybody was all that stunned when Scotty Barnes committed. This is just what they do now. They put themselves in a place where they're a top 12 to 15 program in the country. And when you're a top 12 or 15 program in the country and you play in the ACC and you're around some metropolitan areas, you're not in one, but you're within driving distance to a few, man, you're going to land big-time players. And this program is a big-time program, and they're starting to get big-time – or they continue to get big-time players. Aslan, anything to add?
I mean, nothing. What is there to add on that? No, man. I don't know. I'm still a little bit surprised, man. I mean, it still feels a little bit new to me. I mean, you just rattled off a whole bunch of guys, so it shouldn't be. But it's still. I mean, it still has a lot of sort of I don't know, novelty when they start landing these kids that are that renowned and the guys are beating them for.
I think this is kind of the norm now. I mean, when you have a Terrence Mann, Cabin-Gelly, both of those guys in the league. Obviously, Isaac and Bacon are in the league. Vassell and Patrick Williams are going to be in the league here soon. Scotty Barnes is going to be in the league. I mean, you're looking at 8, 9, 10 Florida State kids that are going to be in the NBA in a few years, and that kind of perpetuates itself. It just feeds itself. And I think that's where they are with this program right now. I starting with Bacon and Beasley, even though Beasley never played in an NCAA tournament game, he's lights out in the NIT, big time. That's a claim to fame. But I do think that this is becoming the norm. It's still cool because it's kind of like the infancy stages, but it's becoming the norm now where they're going to get multiple high 4-star, 5-star type kids every year.
I think Corey did a good job answering the question. You got anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's just a testament to not only the relationships they're building, but just their scouting department. I mean, they offered Anthony Edwards before anyone else did, really. He's going to be a top 5 pick this year. They offered Patrick Williams long before Corey's good friend Roy Williams figured out he had a first-round talent in his own backyard. So, I mean, yeah, it's just exciting stuff. Like, just to think 5 years ago, we were losing to Valpo at home in the NIT to where we are now. I agree with Corey that I truly think Leonard Hamilton's in the beginning stages of sustaining something pretty successful up there in Tallahassee.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, and it's been cool to watch. But you talk about like they develop and they scout and they get on the kids that they need to get on early. They're not going to ever be Kentucky, where they can swoop in on a kid that grows 7 inches in a summer and becomes Anthony Davis. They're not going to necessarily be that program. They have to have good relationships with the kid for a few years. But then also you look at the development of Cabin-Gelly, just the ability to even take Cabin-Gelly when his only offer at the time was Binghamton. Binghamton was the only school, and he was a year out of high school. It wasn't like he was still a year. He was at a prep school, a year out of high school, and still his only offer was Binghamton when Florida State offered him. And then Vassell was not really a known commodity at all. With the big boys when Florida State offered. So they do a good job of scouting, but they also the evaluation is really, really impressive. They're turning, and you got to know that's impressive to parents and high school coaches and obviously those players when they see that, okay, these guys that were 0-star recruits or 2-star recruits turn into first-round draft picks. I mean, Vassell's going to be a lottery pick. In his junior year, he was on nobody's radar except Florida State's. So it's all good. It's all good. It's cool to see, man.
All right. Thanks for the call, Bill.
All right, guys. Keep up the great work, and looking forward to following your guys' coverage of what will be a very unique football season. Take it easy.
Indeed. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call.
Should have worn a better shirt. This is kind of just a plain black shirt. It's like, didn't Steve Jobs always wear black? Or
Vinny Chase. I was thinking Entourage.
What's his name from American Idol? Doesn't he always wear just black shirts?
Simon Cowell?
Yeah. Kind of got that Simon Cowell look, don't I?
I like it. I was about to take your question, Briley, on YouTube, but we got a phone call. Let's take a phone call. Wake Up. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's, Indescribably Good. Corey's here. I'm here. A whole bunch of Florida State fans on the internet. Who we got?
Jay from Daytona Beach.
Oh, there he is.
What's up, buddy?
There we go. All right, a little quarterback.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, snow day in paradise, brother.
Hey, we might have to get LeBourne some salsa to go with all those chips, man.
Hey.
I mean,
that's right, man. They're stacking up.
And we keep calling him by his wrong. It's Laburn. It's pronounced Laburn, everybody. I'd say LeBourne. It's just hard not to say LeBourne, but it's Laburn.
And it's a shame, too, because if the LeBourne to run is natural, it just kind of flows out of the mouth, but it's Laburn, so you can't really do Laburn to run.
Well,
so, anyway,
we'll just call him Lambo, since he got out of that Lambo when he committed. But I bet he never dreamed that his career would play out like this. I remember one of you guys were interviewing him, and you were like, now that it's been a year later and you matured a little bit, do you think it was good to sit out your first year? And he was like, nope.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember Tamarian Terry had a very similar response to that question.
That's why I'm betting
Hey, but
on it,
listen,
man. But anyhow, Jay, carry on.
I specifically didn't call in last week because I knew Aslan wouldn't want to talk about the Shedeur Sanders situation.
Appreciate it.
But you know what? Like Michael said, it's all about fit. And I think the biggest thing with that situation and situations like that is kind of what I touched on like a couple of months ago when I was talking to Corey. And it's just one of those situations where like it should be a gimme for FSU, but we come up short. So it's not so much that it was Shedeur. It's just like, you know, to win championship, you need certain things to fall into place. Like I remember watching the 2012 NC State game and seeing all those field goals and being heartbroken. And then when we needed the field goal, we didn't kick it. And it was just like, I told my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I said, you see that kid right there, number 5? I said, don't worry, baby. We're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right.
She's like, how can you say that? He doesn't even, because we had EJ Manuel at the time, and you know, EJ's well put together, athletic, and she didn't get it. But what I did, I had watched the Elite 11, Trent Dilfer little thing that he used to have on ESPN.
Right.
And I saw the leadership that Jameson had and how he carried himself, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to be good with this guy. So what happens is, like, I think, you know, fans just look at like they're looking for that next guy. They're looking for the next thing to get us over the hump. And when we lose out on something like that, it's like another thing that goes wrong. And then it's like with the whole Taggart situation. What's funny about the Taggart situation is like we pay.
Did we lose him?
No, you're still there.
Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, that was on me. I should have adjusted my headphones before I just assumed we'd lost you. Go ahead. Sorry, Jay. My
Come
fault.
on, Jay. Let's go.
You know what's pretty ironic about the whole Taggart situation is that we had to pay some money to Oregon for his buyout, but then we fire him, and FAU gets to pay him a small salary because we still owe him so much money. So a lot of times, you know, because, you know, things happen as, you know, Gator Kirk alluded to, talking about, you know, Damon McDaniel, DeAndre Francois. A lot of times, like, you would be surprised how many of these kids don't work out. I mean, Last Chance U kind of lets you see, like, how many times it doesn't work out for a kid. But, like, it's just, like, crazy, like, so many things that don't work out for FSU, like from a logistical standpoint.
So, yeah, this is not something that has to fall in line for Florida State to win a national title, landing Shedeur Sanders. Like, he's not the push you over the hump difference maker.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fair. All right, I buy that.
Yeah.
We're going to call him he's like a ray of sunshine, the J of sunshine, just kind of putting us all in a bright light, making us all feel better about things. Look, with the Sanders thing, like I think we talked about it last week. You know, if he'd have committed to Alabama, that's a big loss. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's the legacy player. That's your player. That's his legacy. When you talk about Florida State, it's the most famous player. It's his son. Who else was offered? Who else was recruiting the kid? Does he fit Norvell's system? I don't think that's sour grapes. I think that's legitimate. You don't know where he fits into the scheme and where he fits if he's good enough to play at Florida State. I don't know if I don't know how big a miss it is where his fallback is FAU. You know what I mean? You weren't recruiting Georgia and Alabama and Texas A&M for him. You lost him out to Willie Taggart. So I don't think it was a huge loss. As for the rest of it, come on, buddy. It's only been 3 down years. 4 really, I guess. You know, it's Florida State's still giving you a lot of joy. Florida State's still giving you a lot of joy, right? It's still a fun team to root for.
Yeah, absolutely. Joy. But you know what, Corey, like, for example, like I said, a lot of these kids don't work out, especially when you have a celebrity kid, son. Like, we were recruiting, I don't know if you guys remember, Snoop Dogg's son, who was like at the school in Las Vegas, and, you know, and then he doesn't even make it to, you know, like out of camp. So a lot of times with these celebrity kids, especially a high profile celebrity, it really don't work out. They end up like even not, you know, following through with the sport. If you look at P. Diddy's son, and the list go on and on. But
And
a lot of times, like maybe a C-list celebrity, their kids, they work out a little bit better. I don't know if they're more grounded or what, but so it's not as big as, like I said, it's not about Shador. It's just like us coming up short again on something else. So,
Well, he'll be all right. We got Luke Altmaier.
hey, but
Luke Altmaier.
And Matthew Cleveland got a good basketball recruit today.
All right, we're at 6.5 minutes on this phone call, Jay. I don't even speak to my mother for 6 minutes on the phone. You guys say anything else before I let you go?
hey, Aslan, I listened to some of the stuff you entertained, and I'm like, Aslan's already trying to short my time. But yeah, I do got one more.
6.5 minutes is a long time.
Let's go, Jay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, man. Let's go.
Hey, Corey, now I want you guys to humor me on this. Like, do you guys think a game one can set the tone for a season? For example, the Nooney pass interference against Alabama that wasn't called, and then DeAndre goes down. If that hadn't happened, do you think maybe we could have pulled the game? And ironically, the next season with Virginia Tech, Nooney crossing the goal line, he crossed the goal line, and the guy pulling him up on the back, he rolls over, and Willie goes, hurry up, and we don't score. Steve Gavin drops the pass in the back of the end zone. Do you guys think a game one can set the tone for the entire season, especially when you're a program like us is trying to kind of dig out of a hole?
Is he going to take his answer off the air, Aslan?
No.
Yeah, to an extent, right? Like there have been times, there are plenty of examples of teams looking horrible and playing horrible in their first game and still having fine seasons or great seasons. With Florida State in the predicament it's in right now, where the way where this program is, it is absolutely vital for the kids' psyches, for the fan psyches, for Jay's psyche, for them to play well and to feel good about the program again. Jay's ready to go cheer for FAU now. He's ready to jump ship. Go to the good news in Boca. So that's where the Florida State fan base is right now. They just want something to feel good about and something to feel proud about. And it's been a long time. The BC win at Boston this past year with Odell. I feel like that's the best Florida State fans have felt about their program in 3 years. And that's kind of sad. So it would be so big for the player's psyche to start out a season 1-0, to beat a decent team, and to just feel good about themselves. Yeah, I don't know that it can set the tone for an entire season, but a horrible loss like Virginia Tech, I felt that immediately it was like it knocked the legs out of Taggart in the whole program when that happened. It was such a bad loss. They looked so bad. He never truly really recovered from that first game. I don't think.
All right, Jay.
Love you, Jay.
In the words of the great James Blackman, if you cut my arm open, I bleed garnet and gold.
There we go.
Nice, James.
All right, Jay. Have a good one, man.
All right, man. We only got like half the show left now. I like that. Knock that out.
Yeah, man. I mean, if they would have beat Boise and held on, I mean, I bet you they don't, I bet you they got a little more poise in Charlottesville 2 weeks later. So, I mean, there is a.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, how are we going to blow this one?
Yeah.
How are we gonna lose this one? I think you definitely saw that in Charlottesville. If they roll through Boise, then yeah, maybe the fourth quarter in Charlottesville doesn't happen. They actually step up and make plays.
All right. Taking the phone line down for a minute to answer a call from YouTube. Bradley, any thoughts on the lasting effects on recruiting from delayed or canceled high school football?
I mean, it ain't good, right?
All right.
It ain't good. I think for us, it's not like Mike Norvell's coming from just pick one, Florida or Georgia. All due respect. I'm about to say something insulting when you start a sentence with all due respect.
Right. Be disrespectful.
All due respect to Memphis, they're not recruiting the same type of kids that Florida State is. So he might know some of the kids that are on Florida State's radar. He might have seen some of them, but probably not nearly as many. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very big disadvantage to not have relationships with these kids already, the ones that are going to be seniors, because you were the coach of Memphis last year. And maybe Memphis doesn't – I don't know how many 4 stars Memphis signed last year. I can't imagine many. So you don't really get a chance to see and evaluate and start real relationships, interpersonal relationships. I don't think. Maybe you can now because it's 2020 and everybody texts and Snapchats anyway. Yeah. But I don't think that going from Memphis to Florida State is a pretty big step up when you're trying to evaluate and the caliber of kids that he's used to recruiting. It's a higher caliber now. Florida State gets you in the door. The polo with the FSU on it gets you in the door of a lot more kids' houses than you would with the Memphis Tiger. So that's a big disadvantage, not being able to evaluate and parse out who is not only a big-time player, but is also good for your football team, because you don't get to see them unless their dad's watching them, filming them in the backyard running routes or something. You don't get to really see these kids compete for a whole. It might be 18 months before you get to see some of these kids compete. So yeah, you see that. Not a 1 4-star, right?
None. I don't think any.
Yeah. So when's the last? Has Florida State ever had a recruiting class with no 4 stars? And how many do you think they were even in on? Like, did they lose out a few in the last? Like Memphis, they know what they are. They know they don't go after certain kids because they're wasting their time. At Florida State, you can really kind of go after anyone you want, even now. So that to me is a disadvantage, not being able to evaluate these kids in person.
Yeah, I mean, part of me, I'd like to see to where the early enrollee stuff is not as prevalent. That's what's really going to hurt, especially the kids on the West Coast, like out in California, that are, they're not going to have fall football at all. I think, Texas, I think they're going to let their low 4A to 1A, they're going to start on time, but then everything above that's going to probably start at least 2 weeks later on. So it's not the end of the world for Texas. But yeah, if you're in California, yeah, man, like you don't have like a senior season really to help put you on anybody's radar. And if you were trying to enroll early, it's going to throw another wrench into it as well. So I guess it all comes back, though, to the fact that just, it's all about evaluation. Can these coaches evaluate the players? But then again, you can't get out there and watch them, and they can't put new tape out there. So I don't know, maybe like guys like Chris Marv and, Marcus Woodson, and I guess to a certain extent, Kenny Dillingham will really show their value. Maybe Chris Thompson, just because at least, they're at SEC programs, TCU. So at least the players that those programs are going after, closer maybe to the caliber of Florida State than what Memphis was going after.
Yeah.
You kind of lean on them and who they've recruited. So at least they have a couple of guys that have been through those sort of big name programs. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a good thing, man. I think Florida, last night they had a nearly a 5-hour Zoom call, and pretty much aren't going to take any of the recommendations from their medical board, and they're going to start on time. But pretty much all the major counties are like, yeah, we can't start. Like July 27th, I think, is their start date. And they're like, yeah, we can't start on that time, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how.
Yeah, I think they might divvy it up between regions of the state. Obviously Dade, Broward, that's a tough ask right now to be gathering people. But in some rural counties, they, you probably can, and they probably will.
Yeah. Let's take a text message. This comes from Matty Ice in Newberry, #GoDurden. He says, wake up, Corey. Do you think Willie would ever try to play Florida State as a coach elsewhere to try to up his coaching points or to prove something? Please answer hypothetically.
Please answer. Like, would he try to schedule Florida State at FAU? I mean,
absolutely. I think he wants a piece.
I don't know why he wouldn't. He knows what he know what this program is. But no, seriously, like, there's nothing to lose. If you're an FAU coach, you want all those you can get. You want to play FSU, you want to play Florida because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain if you can win a game. So yes, I definitely think he would want to play Florida State. I guess he's got some ill will towards Florida State. I guess that's right. I do look like a Jack version of the strength coach.
Scott Cochran. Yeah.
But like, I guess he'd have some ill will because he was fired after 21 games, but it's not like, his life was forever changed. Like, he's good to go. His family is good to go. Florida State financially was very, very good to him. Maybe they didn't give him enough time. You might have that viewpoint. Many others do not share that viewpoint. He probably doesn't share that viewpoint, but the thing had careened into a mountain, and he still got $20 million out of Florida State University. So I hope he doesn't have too much ill will.
Kate in Austin, do you think it's possible for Norvell to have a as quick of a turnaround as Mullen at Florida. Seems like Florida had the talent, just lacked the mentality of a winning program. I thought they didn't have the talent, though. I mean, Jim McElwain wasn't stocking that cupboard.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that he wasn't. I mean, if you go back and look at those Florida recruiting classes, they weren't loaded with 5-star kids. They were loaded with kind of a lot of kids like the ones that Willie signed the last 2 years. Honestly, that roster, I think star-wise,
kind of players that he had at Mississippi State. You know, I mean, like Dan Mullen walked into kind of like the roster that he'd been working with at Mississippi State, you know, the 6-7 years prior. So
probably a little better, especially on defense. Probably more talent on defense for sure. But overall, and it was also a team that wasn't used to winning, had just had another losing season. They had 2 in 4 years. And he walked in there, and I think you can make a similar turnaround. Now, it's not like Mullen turned Florida into a national championship contender overnight. I still don't think they're a national championship contender. They're at best the 4th or 5th best team in their own conference. But he turned them into a respectable 10-win type program. They went from whatever it was, 5 wins to 10 wins in a year. I think competent coaching with talent. Obviously, you have to have some talent there too, but competent coaching and good position coaches can do that. And so I could see Norvell having a similar type turnaround. I mean, I'm saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's certainly possible.
I think just Mullen, has a little more of a track record in terms of like flipping offenses and then, figuring out ways to make the best out of whatever he's kind of have to work with. I mean, he had Chris Ralph, a guy at Mississippi State that couldn't even throw the ball practically like 10 yards down the field, and they still won 7 games in the SEC. And obviously how we found Dak Prescott and groomed him. And it's a little bit different. I mean, I wouldn't expect, if we weren't dealing with the pandemic, I don't know. I mean, we talked about it when the schedule first dropped. I think we weren't in pandemic mode, and we looked at it like maybe you can get to 10 wins, but that felt like a real broad jump. But I'm sure Florida fans, probably even the most fervent, probably weren't expecting 10 wins in 2018, and look how they wound up. So,
well, it wasn't like they turned into a juggernaut and were overly impressive. I feel like they won a bunch of pretty close games. I mean, they count wins or wins.
Exactly. I don't care how they look. Just beat Florida.
But I mean, I wouldn't say that Mullen is some miracle worker that Norvell has no chance to be. I mean, Mullen's a good coach. You know what I mean?
No. Well, I'm not saying he's got no chance. Another text message. Hey, fellas, what are your thoughts on regional matchups against the likes of UCF or USF?
So,
you got nothing to gain by those. I don't know. I wouldn't mind it. I mean,
right now you have everything to gain. They're called gains. And we were talking about, I won't even say the name of the show that I'm on, if some people might have listened to it earlier today, but I was talking earlier today about the prospect of maybe if governors in some states say we're not doing football, we're not doing that shouldn't preclude Florida State and Florida in Central Florida, because we know this governor ain't doing that. So that shouldn't preclude Florida State or Florida from playing games if they have to. Like if they can play FAU, FIU, Central Florida, Miami, if they can, you know what I mean? Just there's I don't, if we're talking about big picture, like when things are back to normal and you're scheduling, you don't need to do that. But right now for this one season, if things come to pass where maybe only half your conference wants to play and you still got a few extra open dates, yeah, man, go get Central Florida and South Florida and FAU, FIU. Go play teams. Just play games.
Somebody left a message on Warchant. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. Oh,
that's right. So Mullen's first year, they started out the season 10th in the country.
They were right? So no, they were
preseason. They were on September 1st, 2018, which would have been Mullen's first year. They were number 10 in the country.
Huh.
And then they lost to Kentucky the second week of the season.
I remember that.
State by a touchdown.
Oh.
Beat LSU by 8. Beat Vanderbilt barely. Lost to Georgia. Got crushed by Missouri. Barely beat South Carolina on a crazy comeback. And then finished off the season well. So, I mean, again, they did it. They won the games. You can't say they didn't, but they were, pretty close to having 7 wins. I can't believe they were 10th in the country.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely.
People were pretty high on old Felipe Franks to start the 18 season.
That's ridiculous. There was a good question here I was going to try to pull up. Where'd it go? I thought I was right there in front of my face, and then I totally lost it.
I think I distracted you.
No. Oh, yeah. Don Rurick. When do we get to see some practice? Anytime soon. I don't know, like define soon. I mean, it's not this month. I mean, but then again, what they're doing right now is not anything that they've historically opened and allowed us to film.
Right.
August 7th will be the first day they're allowed to have their actual preseason camp. So we're expecting maybe the day before they'll have a press conference, but August 7th will probably be the first time you'll see them actually running around in pads and things like that. So let's take a phone call. Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Who we got?
Hey, it's Jeremy. How you guys doing?
Good.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, man. What's going on down south?
Same old, hot, rainy.
Tell me about
Yeah,
it. Tell me.
absolutely.
Don't worry, I promise to keep this under 15 minutes.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
No, first off, shout out to Ira Chaffel, man. His work on these articles on the backstory has been fantastic.
That's right. That's right.
And my one question to you guys is, what is your favorite venue to go cover an FSU game at, or just go as a fan?
Oh, you take this one first, Corey. I got to handle business on the PC.
I was wrong, by the way. Florida was unranked to start the season. They finished 10th. I was misreading the ranking. So apologies to all, and especially to Dan Mullen. My favorite venue, man, that's like, it's hard. Like, Pasadena was the coolest environment. Just the scenery around the stadium I've never seen anything like it. It was just awesome. But I mean, it's, that was a bowl game. It's on a golf course. I think when I want to talk about my favorite venue, it's like everything involved: the tailgating, the people around it, the loud factor, a cool stadium. So the first two that come to my mind are Michigan and Notre Dame. Those are probably my two. Notre Dame, it's just different, man. And I hate saying that because I'm tired of that program. But everybody is so nice. They're so welcoming. Even the game of the century game that I was at in '93, they're so proud of that university that they all say, everybody was like, "Welcome to Notre Dame. I hope you enjoy yourself." Not go F you Knowles, convicts. They weren't screaming that to people, at least the people I was with that were in Florida State gear. They were just very nice, and it was a great atmosphere. And then Michigan, same thing. The Michigan fans were okay, but the stadium was incredible. Just for a 16, 17-year-old kid. Now, that was 29 years ago. What I really want to go back to, I actually went to LSU that year too, to Baton Rouge. And it rained the whole time, and LSU wasn't very good. I'd love to go back there now that they're good again. They're a national power, and see and experience that. Because I don't feel like I got the full the full taste of Baton Rouge, because it poured down rain for half the game, and they weren't very good.
I like open air press boxes.
Oh, geez, here he goes.
What are you talking about? Oh, geez, here he goes. What?
Well, yeah, I think it's supposed to be as a fan. Yeah, it's a venue as a fan, not as a worker.
It was the most fun I've had. I didn't joke then as a fan. I mean, I went to Notre Dame in 2003. That was pretty magical. Like, we took a photo out front of the stadium before we walked in, and some old guy literally handed us like a fifth of Southern Comfort, which is our annual traditional game day drink. So I enjoyed that quite immensely. Yeah, but I mean, for me, like covering Alabama Ole Miss in 14 was probably like the coolest thing overall. Just because like the pregame was ridiculous. That place was buzzing. That was the first time I think game day was ever in Oxford. The Grove, again, like I've said, so many things are overhyped in this life that we live these days, but the Grove is not. I mean, the Grove is absolutely amazing. And I was like part of the human crush on the field when they won the game, and they're taking the field goal post down, and it was that was pretty cool to cover. That was pretty neat to be there. Otherwise, at Pasadena was amazing, but we didn't really tailgate for that game. But just to see what's the mountain range? I always forget it. I always want to call it San Andreas, but it's not.
It's the Appalachians.
There we go. That's
Appalachian Mountains.
That's it. Yeah, I would say at Pasadena probably then. That was amazing.
What's Jeremy's?
I was so stressed that whole game, I couldn't really enjoy it, man. I was so frazzled that, it hurt a little bit. Kind of weird. But yeah, what about you, Jeremy? What's your favorite one?
I'd have to say Clemson or Notre Dame.
Okay.
Clemson is some of the nicest people you'll ever come across.
Yeah. Well, you were there last year. That's when they knew they were going to beat
Yeah,
up.
they're gonna be nice to you when they know they're gonna beat you by 100.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, that's true.
duly noted. Duly noted. All right. Thanks for the call, Jeremy.
All right, take care, fellas.
Have a good one. All right. Over on the tribal council, C. Swizzle, Casey from Tallahassee, with all the progress in the weight room that we have seen from the pictures from practice, how much do you guys think strength and conditioning can help our offensive line? Coach Storms seems to be doing some serious work. Mari Gaynor shows himself on Twitter weighing in at 231. Although, is that a big deal? I feel like that's probably like what he weighed last year. I mean, I'm gonna look at the spring.
Look it up. Look up. I don't think he put it on there if that's what he weighed.
Spring roster, they had 215. So that's good. That's
16 pounds. You got to figure it's muscle. It's not, eating a bunch of cheeseburgers. I look. There's a reason the dude at Alabama was such a hot commodity. A good strength coach, a great strength coach matters a lot to a college football program. Certainly more than like a good tight ends coach. I mean, it is a big deal. Dante Lucas. I mean. There's a picture that Aslan's showing for our podcast listeners. There's a picture Aslan's showing right now of Dante Lucas running. I guess kind of flexing his right arm as he's running. And it looks like a leg. I mean, it's enormous. And that kid's a big kid anyway and really strong. But yes, if this strength coach knows what he's doing, which apparently he does, and these guys gain good weight, which we hope they are, it can make a huge difference on the offensive line. Because wouldn't it be cool to see one of your linemen, Florida State fans, like take a defensive tackle and kind of push him out of the way? Wouldn't that be neat to see? Or like a defensive end that's kind of running around, just kind of swat him like a fly 7 yards past the quarterback? Other schools have those things, and Florida State should. So hopefully that's going to be the case here with our man Storms and old Rowdy. What's his name?
Rowdy Dowdy.
Rowdy Dowdy.
Rowdy Dowdy. We got a text that I saw on Twitter today that's a Chick-fil-A Bowl, Mercedes-Benz Dome, that they're going to go ahead with all 3 scheduled college football games for the season. How do you think moves like this will affect Florida State and the ACC's decision to play college football outside of a conference-only schedule this season? Well, I mean, that's, again, I think Ira kind of answered this on the tribal council. The quotes that are coming from this, I think the Democrat wrote a story about it, but it's the organizer of the event. It's Gary Stokan, good dude. The one that's in charge of getting those games off the ground, and they have to plan that they're going to play all 3 of the games. Him saying that they plan on playing the 3 games doesn't really matter. I don't think into the calculus of what John Swafford or Greg Sankey or, I don't even know who's Bob Bowlesby, I think, for the Big 12. I don't think that affects what they're thinking at all. And I think Gene even commented on a thread that basically if that game is even being played, if West Virginia and Florida State do play, it's not going to be there. So,
and you can plan anything you want. Like Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Like it's just a plan. It's not concrete. It's not set in stone. And I would be very, very surprised if that game is played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But hey, I've been very surprised before.
Your Redbeard 40's a hero, one of his personal heroes, Corey. How's that feel?
It feels really good. Do you think he spelled Beard wrong, or is that like his last name?
Probably his last name, I would think.
Okay. Well, either way, I appreciate that, Redbeard. I'm Graybeard right now. I got it just for a minute again. It's been a minute. Right. Can you tell, Aslan?
It still looks good, man, I think, a little color in it. Give a little color in it.
Yeah, I got to get a little more color in there. Got to splash it up a little.
Ambitions trademark TTG. I think the TM stands for trademark. Maybe it doesn't. The season is played. What is a record prediction for FSU this year? Well, we don't even really know what the schedule is going to be like. But
I say they win 75% of their games.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if they play 9, well, that's like 6.5. I don't know how you could I guess 7. I don't think they're going to go 7-2. But I predict them to lose 3 games. Those are my predictions. But it's hard. It's kind of hard to know with how many games they're going to play and even who they're playing. Right. If they do the odd thing, we don't even know who they're going to play.
Right. And we don't even know when they're going to play, who they'll play, right?
Yeah.
Just because NC State's the first ACC game on the schedule doesn't necessarily mean that they'll open with that. You would think so, though, because that's also, I think, NC State's first conference game of the season. But I'm trying to get really bullish. But then again, I just think about like 6 weeks. I mean, they have like 6 weeks of true hands-on practice, a brand new staff. That's brutal. That's brutal. So it's really tough to say. And then again, those coin flip games that we spoke about. I don't know if you had Boise as one of them, although it's probably wasting time to even talk about Boise. But like Louisville, Miami, those are like coin flip games. Clemson's probably a loss. Florida is going to be a tough one to see them win. 75% though. I mean, maybe I should I'll piggyback off that. Why not?
There you go. They could get they're due to win a game they're not supposed to win. It's been a minute at Florida State since they won a game they weren't supposed to win.
No. Redbeard says it's spelled like that on purpose, not my last name.
All right. Okay. Sorry, Redbeard. I don't know if he's yelling at us with that exclamation point at the end. But hey, man, I appreciate it. I like the logo too.
Yeah, what was that? The Burt Reynolds?
Yeah, it looks like Burt. R.I.P. Burt. R.I.P.
All right, let's see what we got here. All these questions. Yeah, some artists here. Claude Demer. Oh, we got it, obviously. Hang on, Claude. We'll come back to you. Let's take a phone call, shall we? Welcome on in to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. It's indescribably good. Who's this?
Hey, this is Kevin from Atlanta.
Kevin from Atlanta.
What's up, Kevin?
All right.
Hey, guys.
Are you in Atlanta?
Sorry, I missed your question last time. I'm actually in Noonan.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. That's is that I'm in Gwinnett, like Buford, the Buford area.
Yeah, I have a daughter that lives up there, so it kind of ages me a little bit. So I don't want to bring the show down or anything, but I want you to think a little bit outside the box. So, once I guess around 2013 when the SEC network launched, I mean, we've just seen a blow up in the revenues for conference college revenues, in which the ACC is obviously way behind. And I feel like it's kind of over the last several years, we've kind of spiraled into where we are today, which is the appearance that we're behind in, with coaching, with facilities, et cetera. Now we got the perfect storm of a pandemic, and it has a bad appearance that we're going to be fighting out of this thing at some point. But my question is not so we know why we're there. We know we can't do anything about it right now, et cetera. But my question is this: do you ever foresee a day when Florida State is going to be able to maximize financially their brand? We're obviously not going to be able to do it in this conference. And when I look at this conference, Clemson and Florida State are the conference, with football revenues blowing up as they have over the last few years. So I love the new hire that we have coming in, and I feel like at some point, some really good business guys are going to go, look, we're going to treat this like a company, and we're going to maximize this brand, and we're not going to be Coca-Cola being held to sales of Fresca. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
It's hard to think that in the ACC that it would happen, but then they can't get out of here until what, like 2036 or something absurd like that, or maybe not that far out, but because the whole grant of rights deals kind of kept them into this pigeonhole that they're stuck in. Yeah, it's hard to imagine they can maximize, their brand in this conference the way it's set up currently.
I don't see how Florida State can catch up to the teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. The only hope is that they slow down and they come back to the pack. That's really the only hope where Florida State can even be equitable, I think, in regards to finances and money. Like, if this thing evens it out, or if the Power Five just breaks away from and just becomes its own entity, Power Five football, that is, it is not under the NCAA jurisdiction and it's not associated with the Group of Five anymore, then maybe there's more, I don't know, revenue sharing. If there's only 60 teams, if only 5 conferences, and they're looking out for each other and they play their own national championships and they only play each other, then maybe there's some revenue sharing there. But no, otherwise I don't see how. They had the biggest brand in the country 6 years ago. They were in the midst of a 29-game winning streak 6 years ago. We're number one in the country with a Heisman winner. And here we are 6 years later, and they make half the money that Northwestern makes. And so that's something that I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you catch up unless you join another conference, and that can't happen. Or like I said, if they break off, there's probably ways they can maximize the brand better. But right now, they got to build the brand back again.
The thing is, if they break off, though, Corey, like if the Power Five becomes autonomous from the NCAA, I mean, it's still the Power Five. I mean, those conferences are still going to be around. I mean, it's not like, I don't think all 60 teams are just going to be under one kind of thing, and they're going to figure out some sort of formula.
No, we don't, but it could be. I mean, there's a chance that could happen. Yeah,
but then then that feels like that's going to get really messy. Like, how do you figure out like what Wake Forest and Illinois and Purdue make versus Ohio?
I got an idea how you figure it out. 0. Let's look at TV ratings and championships and figure it out.
Oh, if it only worked that way. Yeah. Again, yeah.
I kind of
go ahead.
I kind of agree with where you're headed there, Corey. I kind of feel like it's going to be more of a 60-team 4 super conferences. I could even see a scenario where if that happens, let's say in 2025, Notre Dame says, we're going to sign a new deal with NBC, and we're just going to play our secondary sports for you guys for 10 more years. I think that's going to be a big deal if that happens. They don't fully join. But at some point, I could see a scenario where that we go to 4 super conferences, and the strong in the ACC are going to find homes. Big Ten, I'm sure we'll find a home with somebody. Clemson, Miami, and the others are probably going to fall off into a secondary non-Power 5 conference. I think that's where they'll ultimately end up, and at that point, I'm thinking that's where we'll maximize our brand. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime. The sad part.
Yeah, it might not, but yeah, it's just such a, in NFL, they promote parity. Every team is built to be 8-8. That's what the NFL wants. Well, college football is not like that, obviously, but it's just preposterous. When you really take a step back and think about the business model, it is preposterous that Northwestern's football gets more money than Florida State football from a TV deal, or that Wake Forest gets the same amount or similar to the same amount of money as Florida State. How much money has Wake Forest and Boston College ever brought into this conference? How much money has it made for this conference? And yet they get the same payout. So, it's just.
If you look at ratings and viewership, if you build a TV contract based on that,
right?
Florida State is 50% of the contract.
Yeah.
That's the point. When we're talking football eyeballs, so that's what's the frustrating part.
Well, and you can talk about college basketball eyeballs, but nobody watches college basketball anymore. None of the, like even the Duke UNC games.
Not the structure anymore.
Yeah. So I'm with you, man. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, it will just for this, not just for just being equitable, but for the sake of the university and for the athletic department. Yeah, Florida State should be making more money for their name. I don't know how it is, other than I don't think Coburn and Thrasher are going to go to Swofford and be like, hey, man, we need 30% more money. You need to lessen what Wake Forest makes and give it to us, because they don't. What can they do? They can't leave the conference. Maybe a horse head in Swofford's bed.
Yeah, they had that chance in 2013, and I think that was our chance to really leverage our power right after that national championship. On a side note, though, Corey, and this is not a shot at you, Aslan. I just want to say, you got a really good voice there, man. You might want to think about a career change and be that next play-by-play guy.
Nah, it's too much travel, buddy. I appreciate that. I've never been told I have a good voice. I think you're pulling my leg a little bit, but I do appreciate it if you're being sincere, even if you aren't. I still appreciate it.
You got a good booming radio voice, thanks for radio too, probably. But
yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to meeting you guys in person someday at one of these booster things, possibly up here.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks for your thoughts.
Yep.
Just looked it up. You got to love Atlanta. So he says he's from Atlanta. I say I'm from Atlanta. I live an hour and 15 minutes from Noonan. You know what I mean? We're both from Atlanta, technically, sort of, but we're an hour and 15 minutes away from each other.
Biggest city in the world. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, we still do pretty good drawing television, but that's when we were good. That's the Virginia Tech, and that's probably the last primetime sort of game Florida State had. was the opener in 18. So that was the third most watched game of that opening weekend behind Miami LSU and then Michigan Notre Dame. So it did better than the game in 17, which was Tennessee Georgia Tech, which I think was infamously. That's when Butch Jones had the touchdown trash can, or like the turnover trash can, where they would dunk the football in a trash can. That would go on to be Butch Jones's last season in Knoxville. But didn't draw as highly as that Ole Miss game in 16. So, yeah. All right.
Well,
It just, I get it. Like, we're a Florida State show. I just don't know if we really pull as strongly as we think we do. But I mean, those numbers.
When Florida State is good, Florida State gets big numbers. It always has. And even if you don't, like, where would the ACC be without Florida State? And again, it's just, I know a lot of people watching the show are probably against socialism, and this is a socialist model where Wake Forest and Boston College and Syracuse get to have some sports because Florida State and Clemson, and to an extent Notre Dame, helped land this ACC network deal. Like, that's where the money comes from. It doesn't come from anything that Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Syracuse do, or Pitt. They don't do anything to make money for the university or for the conference.
Times 4 wins GX. He's asked this twice. He's hung in the pocket, so I'll throw it out there for him. Over under 15 interceptions for the defense this season. These are tough, everybody. These are tough because we don't know how many games they're going to play.
I'm going to say under because that's
seems like a big number.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up to see how many they had last year.
I tried to, but I couldn't find it. I wanted like the official NCAA website. Figured maybe that would show you. I should have probably had, what do you call it? Good old Pro Football Focus pulled up, but
like they had 8 interceptions last year, so they would have to double it to get over that. And it might be in less games. So I don't expect that, but I do expect them to be I mean, man, if Akeem Dent caught 4 of them, I mean, now you're at 12 interceptions last year.
How about this? 6 people.
I'm going to say under.
There were 6 people who made a pick last year. I think there'll be more than 6 people that make a pick this year.
Okay, that's good to know.
So I'll say
it would help to get some pressure on the quarterback. That's what usually leads to interceptions. So hopefully that will happen this year. Yeah. And we'll say, who had the lead last year? Was it Hamza with 2?
Hamza and Stanford Samuels III, each with 2, and then Isaiah Bolden, Cyrus Fagan, Asante, and Levante each had 1.
I think Cyrus had the biggest interception of the year against Louisville. Turned that game around. I think that was him in the end zone when they were driving to kind of put it away. And Hamza had the second biggest, where he had that interception to Trevor Lawrence before half. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a game changing. That kind of turned the tide after that play.
How could we forget it? I'm going to try to get back to that question before we had our last call. Who is the one recruit that Coach Norvell needs to get to be successful in the 2021 season? I'm going to say like Lute Altmaier, but that's kind of a cop-out. I don't know. Like, is there some junior, maybe just, I don't know, like an offensive tackle, like a really good offensive tackle, like a JUCO defensive end, like speed edge rusher kind of guy?
A tackle. Whoever the top offensive tackle on their board is, go get them. And aren't they in the mix for like a big bad one? Like
I think Amarius Mims is his name.
Okay.
There was a kid, Terrence Ferguson, that they were hot after, but I think he picked Alabama because why wouldn't you pick Alabama?
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. So yes, whoever the top name on their offensive line recruiting board is, it looks like Georgia might be the favorite to land Amarius Mims, but hey, crazy things can happen. Crazy things can happen. So Florida State's in the mix at least. That's a good sign. He's the number 2 player in the country.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
Wow, from Bleckley County. Man, that's tiny. That's good for him. So if we'll go. I don't know what the chances are. It would not look good but I would say Amarius Mims. Imagine that. What would you do if Florida State signed that kid? If that kid committed to Florida, like did his video, and comes ride it out on Renegade, what would you do? Would you not be all aboard the Norvell train if he landed this kid?
Print the shirts, man. 2021 national champs. Print them.
I mean, everybody's on board with that. That would be an incredible get if they got him.
I'll say a couple more questions. We've hit the hour. I'll turn the phone line off. We'll take a couple of last ones here on YouTube. If Notre Dame did join the ACC and they had to add another team to balance out the conference, what would be your choice? I think UCF would be a great fit. Thoughts?
I think Florida State and Miami would be against that. I don't disagree. It makes sense regionally. Is there one out there that you're? I mean,
I think
DC would probably be like UConn or something.
I think Houston would be pretty good.
Yeah, but they're not close enough. It would be cool though to be able to go to Houston. Maryland, maybe get Maryland back. I think UCF would probably make the most sense. But again, like I said, Florida State and Miami would be against that. And I don't think they'd be against it to the point where it'd be like if getting Notre Dame full time meant that you also had to get UCF, Florida State, I think hopefully would sign up for that in a heartbeat. Yeah. And they should. Like that should just be like, all right, whatever. You can bring in the Miami Dolphins as long as we get Notre Dame and some of that money.
Ryan Nag, when was the last time game day was in Tally? In a Notre Dame game, I think. 14. So
they weren't there. They might have been there for were they not there for the 16 Clemson game when Dalvin? I know maybe they just Herb Street flew there after the game day show.
That was the primetime game. I know that was the game,
yeah, that would be the only one I could think of. But yeah, it might have been 14 Notre Dame, huh? Jeez.
I think so. And Brandon gives us a hot take on our way out, saying Nick Saban has won his last national title.
Hey man, from your mouth to God's ears, Brandon. I hope so too. I hope Alabama doesn't win one until at least the 2100s.
Oh, I lied. Let's take one last one. I'm going to go play tennis. What are the top 3 position units at FSU? DBs, defensive line,
and wide receivers. I just wrote a story on the wide receivers today. Going up at some point. By the way, we need to talk about the story that he was mentioning earlier that Ira's written on Warchant. It's a really cool story. So if you're not a subscriber, go subscribe. It's a 7-part series. We're through 2, but he did a ton of research and interviews over the course of 4 months. He wasn't quite embedded with the program because you can't be embedded with people right now. But through a lot of Zoom interactions and a lot of interviews, he went minute by minute, day by day, week by week on how this coaching staff dealt with the pandemic as they got ready for their first season. And it's a 7-part series. It's really good. We're really only through 2. You're really only through 1 because the first one was kind of a setup to what's coming. So this was the first real one where like you meat and potatoes, and there's just going to be more after that. So get in on Warchant, read it if you're a subscriber, and then if you're not, go subscribe. How about that, Aslan? I sold that pretty well, didn't I?
That was fantastic. Oh, I should have said this. I meant to say this at the top of the show, but I forgot. We joked about this. We didn't joke about it, but we mentioned it like earlier in the year. But the folks who listen to this podcast on Podbean, August 11th, we're shutting it down. So either get on the YouTube train, which if you could hit like if you made it this far, subscribe under Corey.
And send us money, right? Don't we want people to send us money?
Yeah. Well, too late for that. We're done.
Yeah, we did. We blew it.
So, subscribe on go on. If you have a Droid, if you have an Android device, use the Google Podcast app is what I use, and I think it's quite well. If you have an iPad, iPhone, we're on the podcast app there. So yeah, don't come August 11th, we'll be off Podbean. So get used to using us on some other different platforms. So that is that. All right.
And also, I want to finish the thought. Wide receivers, because they have one of the best players in the country. They have some guys with some experience, not a lot of great big plays that they have in their careers so far, but DJ Matthews, Pokey, Keyshawn Helton have shown flashes, and then they're bringing in 4 or 5 receivers that will play. So that's who I think mainly because of Tamarian, but that's who I think their third best position group is.
Do you agree with that, though? So defensive backs, defensive line, receivers?
Yeah, in that order, probably. I just think DBs have a little bit more depth than the defensive line.
Yeah. I mean, they're crazy. I mean, the national leader in interceptions transferred in, so
That's right. That's right.
Embarrassment of riches.
Sure.
Be back here with us tomorrow. We being myself and Michael Langston, 7:00 recruiting chat Wednesday, and then Friday we'll have a happy hour, 5:00. So Corey, get ready to get tipsy for that one. All right.
You got it, buddy.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch up with y'all later. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source.